He's only come from bloody Birmingham. Your next one is Mr. Phillip Ellis!
Hello. This is a short story called Poppet. I made him from twigs, straw, and a lock of hair. The hair was the trickiest to acquire, but if something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. It's a simple enough design: 2 legs, 2 arms, a looped flower stem for the head. I found the template online, this Wiccan blogger who sells crystals and does healing consultations over Skype. I worked lovingly over it like I was making a valentine, twisting and bending it until it looked just right. I've never done this kind of thing before. Don't get me wrong, I like black eyeliner and getting my palm read as much as the next Scorpio, but I never saw myself turning to witchcraft. But desperate times. Mark barely knows I exist. I'm not even sure he knows my name. I've been in love with him for nearly a year, ever since he started working in the office. But he doesn't seem to notice anything I do. I've made conversations in the tea room, tried flirting. I even attempted the trick from that film where you drop something and then bend over sexily to pick it up. But my pen went rolling under the cabinet and I had to get on my hands and knees to find it, and then by the time I finally retrieved it and stood back up, he'd left the room. So I started to explore alternative methods. I spoke to my cousin's wife about procuring a chemical option, but apparently slipping something into Mark's tea while he's not looking would be a bit rapey, and she wouldn't give me any info on where to find powdered rhino horn anyway. So I went online and I found the spell. The Poppet is step number 1. Craft a doll in the image of your beloved. Looking at my handiwork, I wouldn't say it's the spitting image of Mark. It looks a bit like one of those corn dollies you might see at a harvest festival. But the intention is what counts. And by God, I've gone to some effort following Mark to the barber, waiting for him to get his hair cut and leave, then going in and giving the receptionist 20 quid for a lock of his hair. She looked at me like I was mad, but then I offered to throw in a Cafe Nero gift card and she agreed. And now Mark's gorgeous shiny hair is knotted around the head of the Poppet. Next is step 2, blood. Something I've learned about magic from the handful of YouTube videos I've watched is that in order to give your hopes life, you have to give them your blood. And so I prick a finger with that ceremonial dagger I picked up on eBay. I suspect it used to be a letter opener, but it certainly looks the part, and like I said, it's all about intention. The blade is a little dull, and so I have to give my index finger a couple of extra quick jabs before it breaks the skin. I let 3 drops of blood fall onto the doll, and I chant the arcane words I found on Instagram. Then I shove my finger in my mouth and go in search of a plaster. The next day I march straight into the kitchen as soon as I get to work. Mark is there, stirring his coffee. "Good morning," I say. "Morning," he says, then he just heads back to his desk. When I get home that night, I snatch the doll up from the nightstand. I stare at it accusingly for a moment, then take the blade to my finger again, squeezing the newly opened cut until another 3 drops fall onto the Poppet. The hair knotted around its neck goes from blonde to the colour of rust, and I place the doll back down next to the ritual Yankee candle, confident that I've got it right this time. The next day, I don't seek him out straight away. I've no clue how spells work. Maybe I need to wait for him to come to me. I sit at my desk all day doing BuzzFeed quizzes. Apparently I'm a Charlotte, although I've always felt like a Carrie. I keep expecting to look up from my screen and see him walking towards me, for all that blood and hair to finally work their magic, but nothing. I feel so stupid, and I fully intend to throw that silly stick figure in the bin. But later, when I pick it up, I remember Katie's videos. She's the blogger who gave me the idea for this in the first place. Her handle is Hecate Midnight Jones, but her followers all call her Katie. And something she always says, her trademark hashtag is, "A spell is not a wish." She's right. I'm not some silly child sitting on Santa's lap. I can't expect to get my own way just like that. Magic doesn't work that way. So I spend the evening doing more research, and I learn that I need to imbue the doll with my energy. For the spell to work, I need to treat my makeshift Mark as I would the real one. It's all about intention. What the hell is that? Asks my flatmate, Jo. She points at the poppet, which I've propped up against a cushion on the sofa next to me while I watch Strictly. It's sticky. I've just anointed it with more of my blood and some essential oils for good measure. A damp stain is already forming on the cushion cover. None of your business, I say, picking it up carefully and carrying it back to my room. I sink down onto the bed, suddenly exhausted, and the next thing I know, I'm being woken by the blinding morning light. I must have nodded off. I slept the entire night with the poppet clutched to my chest, like a child with a teddy bear. I get ready for work and delicately pack it next to my Filofax, where it accompanies me to the office, sitting secretly under my desk all day. It never leaves my person. I fall into the habit of talking to it in the evenings, telling it about my favourite films and books as I poke away at my fingers and smear it in more of my blood. Each finger on my left hand is covered in plasters. I can barely type anymore. 2 weeks after I created the doll, Mark gets into the lift after me and I compliment his aftershave. Thanks, he says, it's Armani. That night, I spritz the doll with newly purchased Armani cologne and place him on my pillow so I can take little sniffs of Mark as I fall asleep. I decide the next morning that it's time to approach him again, to ask him out and give the spell a chance to work. I've been nurturing the poppet for weeks, feeding him my blood and attention, and it feels like something's changed, like something strange and wonderful is about to happen. I feel none of my usual nerves as I walk into the office kitchen. I might go so far as to say I feel empowered. I see him and I smile and I say, Mark, I think we should go together for a drink sometime. What do you say? And his eyes widen because it's 9 a.m. and I suppose that's not what he was expecting to hear. And then he says, I have a girlfriend. My heart feels like it could fall out of my arse. I feel sick, my face goes hot, and in the distance, Mark keeps talking. He says he's sorry and he's sure I'm lovely and I'll meet someone eventually and the humiliation is just too much. I tell my boss I'm feeling ill and I flee. The minute I get home, I open the fridge and grab the bottle of wine with a little sticky note reading Joe on it. I pace my bedroom, taking huge gulps of acidic Pinot Grigio from the glass in my right hand. The poppet dangles from my left. I don't even remember getting him out of my bag. Want some? I ask, and I hold him up to the glass before laughing and knocking back the wine myself. I pour another, then another. I light every candle in the room and drag that knife across my palm, then squeeze my hand around the poppet until blood drips onto the carpet. The rustling turns to a squelching sound as the doll becomes slick with my blood, and for a second it almost sounds like he's suckling away at the cut. I put on smooth radio and sway slowly to the love songs, trying not to cry, just a hopeless old romantic dancing with their blood-stained twig doll. I decide love is bullshit, and so is magic. I was an idiot to believe this could happen for me. Stupid to think anyone would want me, especially Mark. Handsome, sweet Mark. I love him so much, it hurts. I hold the doll against my chest and I think of Mark's warm smile. I flop down onto my bed and close my eyes and allow myself to imagine that he's here with me. Oh, Mark, I say, I love you. Over the corny ballad and my own ragged, sad breathing, I could swear I hear something, a soft, wet sound like when you bite into a piece of fruit. The thing in my hands gives a sudden twitch and rasps, I love you too.